Hey everybody, I'm back with another update of what's happening here in southern Utah, and today I'm back at Atwood Innovation Plaza here at Dixie State. About a year and a half ago I came and did a video about what this place is. And basically it's a place for anybody, students and community members, to come with any idea or concept and turn it into a real business. So today I get to interview a few of the founders and inventors of products and companies that have started here and that are either in the development stage or they're about to launch, or they've already launched and they're doing really big things. I'm super excited to show you what's going on, so let's get started. So first up, we're here with Alan Knudson, who is the CEO of Sun Homes, which is an off-grid net zero utility service, right? Cool. So we're gonna hear about what he's up to, and we're excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me.
So first off, who is Alan Knudson, and then what is Sun Homes?
Who is Alan Knudson? I am a 26-year-old high school graduate who loves building and energy and utility systems. So I've been working on solar and battery systems for 10 years. My first project was powering an off-grid well. So, that's water and power, and then we started to see if we could build entirely self-sustaining homes, so sewer, power, water, internet, and we have lately added heating and cooling. So anything you need to heat, cool, run, or power a light, we do that.
And it's for off-grid homes.
For off-grid homes.
Explain that, so in a nutshell, what do you guys provide for an off-grid home?
So for an off-grid home, anything you would normally pay a utility bill for. So water service, power service, sewer service. And then we also are contractors for the geothermal systems we're doing now, because it's the most efficient way to heat and cool a house. One of the interesting things about off-grid homes is you're prepaying all of your utility bills. It's like you put in a well, you put in the solar and battery, you put in the septic, you don't have utility bills anymore.
Right.
And so efficiency becomes really important, because if you're gonna prepay 30 years worth of energy bills, you need the most efficient equipment you can get.
Got it. Makes sense.
So that's why we do all of it.
Cool. That's really cool. And I know you have some patents. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we have some patents around how batteries charge and discharge. The first off-grid home we ever did, the battery was $30,000 for a 1,600 square foot home. It was just extremely expensive. Yeah, and the worst part was it only had a 10-year life. So, $30,000 over 10 years, that's like $300 a month just for the battery.
Just for the battery.
Because you got to replace it when it goes out. And so after we did that home, and it was a really fun project, we spent 2 years trying to figure out how to make batteries last 30 years instead of 10 years, so that it had roughly the same life as the mortgage.
Got it.
So all of our patents are around how do we charge, manage temperature, and cycle the battery to extend its life for off-grid homes.
Very cool. And lastly, what makes you excited about southern Utah?
Yeah, so southern Utah is really interesting. It's one of the fastest growing cities, St. George specifically is one of the fastest growing cities in the United States, and it's still very small.
Yeah.
So for us, that's the perfect blend of we need new housing, and you can work with the local authorities. So, our stuff is fairly strange. You have to get it permitted, you have to get it approved.
Yeah.
That would be almost impossible in a bigger city. But this is probably the perfect market for where we're starting.
That's awesome. Super cool. Really interesting.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's been a lot of fun.
Well, thanks for having us. Appreciate it, and look forward to seeing where you go from here.
Thank you.
Now I'm here with Matt Riley with Parcy, which is an event software platform. Super cool. We're going to hear a little bit about what they're up to. So thanks for having us, Matt.
Yeah, good to be here.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.
So who is Matt Riley, and how did you get involved with Parcy?
Yeah, so if I kind of go back in time a bit, I grew up in Southern California, and the first decade of my career was in tech sales.
Okay.
And along the way, developed some friendships and built my relationships with various people in the network. And one day, a good friend of mine called and said, "Hey, I'm actually moving to St. George to go do a software startup. And as soon as he said those words, I knew that that was something that was interesting to me. And within the next 6 months, I found myself packing my bags and relocating my family from Southern California to join what was then Printer Logic in its early stages.
Oh, okay.
So we weren't expecting to fall in love with St. George the way that we have, but we came up for the opportunity and we just totally fell in love with St. George.
That's awesome. So then you left Printer Logic and in January started with Parcy. What is Parcy?
Yeah, so Parcy, as you said, is a software platform for planning and managing virtual events. And we make it really easy for anyone to do it. So you don't have to be a software whiz to develop these really beautiful event pages. And we empower everyone to create an entire experience for attendees. Everything from the registration process, to the attendee management, to the email communications, to the check-in process, to the actual live streaming event. We make it really easy to make that an incredible, spectacular experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how long has it been in the works and where are you guys currently at in the process?
Yeah, in 2018, the co-founders got together and one came from an events planning background, the other came from a web development background.
Okay.
And they'd been lifelong friends, and so they got together and said, hey, I think that our skills would combine pretty nicely for a solution that the marketplace is ready for. And so they started building this platform, and all of this was pre-COVID. So they, in my opinion, were very visionary to realize that hybrid events and virtual events could benefit from the experience of people with event planning backgrounds to design a solution. And when COVID hit, they had a lot of empathy for the event planning ecosystem, which took a huge hit, of course. Right. And they actually decided to not be opportunistic with COVID. And instead of going big and loud with the emails, that we all got a million emails that said, in these unprecedented times and these challenging times, what are you doing to manage virtual events? They actually pulled back and said, let's go focus on feature development, and let's get some developers and go really deep onto the platform, and let's let the event industry catch its breath. And by the end of 2020, the industry did do that, right? Like, people basically figured out Zoom. They figured out that video conferencing is critical, and so they instrumented themselves for all these things. And right around that time, they also started to say, gosh, but we're tired of the same interface for every experience. We're getting Zoom fatigue. We're hearing this phrase all over the place, Zoom fatigue.
All the time.
And so that's when the timing was perfect for them to say, well, let's go tell the world now what we've been up to, what we've been building, and let's take the Zoom video feeds and let's embed them in beautiful, customizable, brandable, personalized web pages and event pages so that attendees feel like they're special, like they're getting the VIP treatment, and the brands that they know and love are front and center again for their experiences and their interactions with them. So
that's awesome.
So that's kind of where we're at now, is to say, okay, like, the world has caught its breath, and it's time to stop being boring and sanitized with our virtual experiences. It's time to make them sparkle. Let's give them some razzle dazzle, and we just want to make it easy for people to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Super cool. And really, it's crazy the timing with COVID and everything.
Yeah.
Virtual and hybrid events.
Oh, right. I mean,
obviously part of the future going forward.
What we saw was that 90% of event planners reported that they had canceled all their events in 2020.
That's crazy.
I mean, you're talking catastrophic changes to the events industry. So the question on everyone's mind is, when do we get to go back? When do we get to be live again in a big way, and go back to conferences and have that energy of people interacting and hear the sights and the sounds of big conferences and other live events? And I don't think anyone is trying to pinpoint like a date of when that happens, but one thing is for sure, even when that does happen, I think the world is awakened now to the value of adding virtual attendees to any experience.
To anything.
It just makes your experiences more scalable and increases your reach.
For
so
sure.
Even when we do go back to the live stuff, I think that having what we call hybrid events, so events that have both live attendees and virtual attendees, is going to be really popular, and I don't think that ever goes away.
Right, I don't either. That's awesome. So then lastly, you already alluded to it, that you fell in love with this place.
Yeah.
But what makes you excited about Southern Utah?
Yeah, I think Southern Utah is a really special place because there's such an appealing lifestyle here, really. And whether you're building a business or seeking like work-life balance, there's so much to offer here that is underappreciated in my mind. I mean, from like the middle of town, you can see into Zion National Park. You can literally see the silhouette of West Temple, Zion National Park. It's barely 2 hours to get to the north rim of the Grand Canyon. And our local parks, Snow Canyon, it's among the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Right.
And personally, we did a brief stint in Europe. We lived in Germany for 2 years, running the European operations for Printer Logic. And when that was finished, our family had this question in our minds of like, okay, well, where do we go now? Like, where's home? And I remember driving into St. George, had just flown into Las Vegas. I'm driving into St. George, I drove through the gorge, and as I hit the part of town where the view just opens all the way up from Snow Canyon all the way to St. George to Zion to the Arizona Strip, I had this really strong feeling like this feels like home. And
that's cool.
You know, that's what brought us back, and we love it. And I think that this marketplace is interesting. I think there's a lot of really smart, hardworking, talented people in town that just want to live here in St. George. And sometimes they take jobs. Sometimes they take jobs that are not perfectly aligned with what their natural skill set is.
Right.
In order to live here because they love living here. And for the last 8 years, I have seen time and time again examples of finding people who are really awesome performers. They just needed the right opportunity. So I think there's a lot of upside in town for that.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
anytime.
It's cool to hear about Parcy and what you guys are up to. So
yeah, thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap, guys. As you can see, a lot of cool things happening here at Atwood Innovation Plaza. Companies of all kinds doing really cool things. For more information on what's happening in Southern Utah, you can call me or text me 435-668-7293 or find me on Facebook or Instagram. Thanks, guys.